Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for TCCA 2020. This year is our 10th anniversary, and we are so excited to have attendees from all over the world joining our conference this year. My name is Andy, and I'll be hosting this session along with my co-host, Sarah. Before we get started, I want to go over a few items with you. If you have any questions during the presentation, please post them in the comment section like you're already doing. Our co-host Sarah will be monitoring the comments and will provide them for discussion at the end of the session. Also, please do not log out of the session before receiving the password for the certificate. You cannot access the certificate without the password, and I will post it at the end. And so, without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce to you our presenter for this morning, Dr. Ericka Landry. How are you doing this morning, Dr. Landry?
Great. How are you doing?
We're
Glad to be
good.
here.
We're good. We're so excited to have you. Okay.
Wonderful.
All right, Dr. Landry. Well, I'm going to go off the screen and let you take it away.
All right.
Okay.
I am just very excited to see all of the different ISDs in the house. I see Lewis Middle School. I see Spring. I see Galena Park, Conroe, Gray Elementary, Fort Bend, Aldine. I used to teach at Aldine a long time ago. South Carolina looks like. SC Delaware. Buenos Dias. I don't know where they're from, but Salvador is on here. So I'm just really excited. Just happy to be here and just so glad that you guys could join me today. Um, I'm going to just share a few things with you. But first of all, what I'd like for you to do, if you have not already, I'm going to use Mentimeter. I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with that, but it is actually like an application that you guys can follow along, and it's more interactive instead of me just talking to you. So there's 3 ways that you can join. You can scan the QR code if you have a reader on your phone. That's one way you can just scan the barcode and click open. The second way is going to menti.com and entering the code that's on the screen. Or the third way is just opening another browser and just entering that information in your browser. So I want to just give you a moment to go through and add that. Maybe about 30 seconds if you haven't, because that'll just help you be able to see it on another device or another browser and follow along with me and answer some questions along the way. Because I'm very interactive. I don't like just talking to you. I like for you to talk back to me. So I'm going to see if I can maneuver these 2 browsers, working with the presentation and working with your comments here. So give you a few more seconds and we're going to jump right in and talk about leading and learning. So I really am interested, first of all, to see if most of you, I know you're educators, but are you teaching? Are you in counseling? Are you an administrator? That would just kind of help me to know like who the audience is, so that I can tailor some of our conversations to your roles, what you're currently doing. So if you can drop that in there for me. I still see Aldine, Caraway, Smith Elementary, Jones. It's exciting. I miss being in the ISDs. So I currently work with Lone Star College. I am a professor there, and also I am the director for faculty development. But I used to teach language arts in 5th and 6th grade, and I really miss that, especially now when I know they probably really need us, the educators and all the things that they're going through. But I'm getting through. I still get to do these type of activities and presentations and talk with faculty. So it really helps fuel that passion that I have. So, okay, we got instructional coach. We have admin counselors. That's what I was thinking. I thought this session would bring the admins in. Diagnosticians. Okay, school social workers. Excellent. Principals. Okay, awesome. Whoa, you guys are going to make me nervous. Okay, I have some teachers in here as well. Teaching and learning. Wonderful. Okay, this is very helpful. RTI, okay, response to intervention. I used to work with those students as well. Okay, we have A-Leaf, Tyler ISD. Wonderful. I love that there's a free seminar that we all can connect together. And the keynote talked about that, how we can actually collaborate and innovate together. So hopefully you'll participate and you're going to add some things that'll help me know more about you as well. So hopefully you're in there, and we're going to move on. So the first thing that I want to do is talk a little bit about session expectations. I know what my goals are for you, but I really want to know, what are you expecting from this session? You signed up for it for some reason. I didn't put a really catchy title on it, but I want to just get some information about what your expectations are for today. What are you looking to learn? Uh, what information are you wanting to find out? Are you looking to hear from your peers or what have you? So just type in, if you can, some things that you're looking to learn, and hopefully I'll meet your expectations. Or you can learn some other things from what other people are doing around the country. So, and I will share these with you. I can make sure that I save these results and share them with you if there's a platform for us to do that afterwards, once we get all this information here. Okay, so the first one that I see is one of my favorites, is learning and growing. I'm actually always trying to do that, which is personally and professionally. Okay, new tools and strategies, okay, to support students and fellow educators. Wonderful. I see someone has the strong, want to learn how to lead with love and affect change. Okay, empathy. I heard them talk about empathy earlier. Leading in these strange times. Oh my gosh, I can so relate. I'm surprised I'm not getting more of those. Um, Emotional time. We are in a very, yes, definitely. Bringing people together. That's the collaboration we talked about. Ideas from other leaders. I always love getting those. Okay. Strategies and techniques to encourage the culture of a supportive, collaborative building. I love it. Influence, skills to support my students. Yes, supporting all stakeholders, which is kind of what this is about, because it's not just about students, it's actually about educators, the parents, the students. We're all going through this emotional time that you guys are talking about. So, what are some things that we can do? Current innovations. Okay, the keynote talked a little bit about innovations, bringing people together. Excellent. Okay. So I have about 17 people. That's one thing that I love about Mentimeter. In the bottom right, I can kind of see who's logged in and who's responding to some of these. So that's really great. Please make sure you still have a chance to answer these later. So as you can continue to put those in, but it's a really good idea to put that in there, and I can kind of see what you're expecting. I keep seeing challenging times, interesting times, and yes, multi-strategies to stay mentally healthy. Yes, and I'm so glad administrators are on here so that we can talk and collaborate about ways to do that. Okay, so this is great. So we have about 21 people there. I'm going to move on, but continue to add those in there so that we can have this good, healthy list of your expectations. So my goal and objective, I have two, and you've already begun doing one. So the first one is the thoughts and the ideas and the participation. Just hearing from you, getting feedback, talking with your peers that's from all over the place, just sharing, whether it's in chat, whether it's in these Mentimeter questions. Be sure just to share. That's what we're all about. Education. It is a collaboration, and we're going to talk about the framework that this session is around. We'll talk about a collaborative, CASEL.org, and I know Aldine uses that already. So we'll talk about that. That's one goal. The second one is your ideas. Okay, so sharing your ideas. They're basically the same, but don't be afraid to add information. At the end, hopefully we'll have a chance to have a Q&A, and you can ask questions, and hopefully I'll be able to answer. And then I can give you some resources, my website information if you want to get on the newsletter and get more information later as well. So this simple quote, that leaders never stop learning, I wanted to add that in here because, first of all, the fact that you're here says a lot. So I totally agree with Christine Kane, who kind of came up with that. We're lifelong learners. So the fact that an administrator is here on a Saturday morning means that you want to learn and that you want to know more about how you can help, how you can support your colleagues and other stakeholders in your districts. The second quote is from John Maxwell, which is another author that I love. A leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. Have any of you ever heard of that quote? I'm sure you probably have, because it's all about modeling. I think modeling is one of the basic or foundational concepts that we need to have as educators. Whether we're in the classroom, whether we're an administrator, we want to kind of lead the way and know and let our people know, or our educators or our staff know, that we're there with them. We're going along with them. We'll show them and kind of be in the trenches with them. So I really believe that all of you that's on this call probably definitely are doing that because you are here. So we appreciate that. Now, the foundation or the structure that this is built around is social emotional learning, which is um, the little proposal idea that I added. So I want to read this quote that says, "When physical distancing is deemed necessary, social and emotional connectedness is even more critical." So I noticed that the keynote talked a little bit about that, how we have to elevate and adapt and innovate, because none of us have ever experienced everything that's going on now, right? So I just have to commend administrators, because back in March, when all of this happened, all the way up to now, and to waiting to hear from TEA and all of the state agencies on what we need to do, if we're going to be red, orange, green. I know Spring ISD, Aldine, everyone had to like just make these quick shifts, right? And so we're in schools. We're not at 100% capacity. We have some people that's learning at home. We have some people going to classes. So we're going to have some pieces that's missing. And we know that that social and emotional piece is critical for young children and for adults and for parents. So these parents aren't home, they're homeschooling and they haven't had the experiences that they need. So how are we as administrators and educators, how are we going to help them? So bridging that major gap is kind of what we're going to talk about in this session. So I know that the website that I'm going to share with you on the next slide has so many resources, and I'm sure the counselors that's on here are already providing all of these and probably having additional meetings and supplemental meetings for parents and guardians and everyone that's involved with these students. My daughters and I have two daughters that's 11th and 12th grade, and so we talk not every day, but at least 2 or 3 times a week about, how is this affecting them? How is it affecting younger students? Students that have special needs. That my heart really went out at the beginning of this when I thought about, those students that have special needs, and then their parents have to have them at home, when we weren't in school at all, and the things that they had to do to really, really cope and deal with this situation. So the question here in the middle is, how do I ensure the learning part happens in distance learning? So when I saw that question, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's such a good question for us to reflect on. And we're going to have lots of rhetorical questions. Let me just say that we don't have enough time right now to share like all the ideas, but hopefully you have a pen and paper, or you're taking notes somewhere on what you're doing personally to say, how can I serve more? What more can I do? Is the question that I'm always asking of my students and of faculty that I serve. So this is a really good question to think about. How do I ensure that learning is actually taking place? I love the picture that the keynote had of this student that was innovative, I guess I can use the word, and he recorded himself and placed it in front of the Zoom camera so that the teacher would think he's there. So, I hadn't even thought about, yes, there's so many ways. And I know cheating and plagiarism and all these things come to mind, but, all we can do is what we can do. So we try to make sure that the learning, that we set up a space for learning. My second presentation is actually going to be about the learning cycle and things that we can do to make sure that it is interactive. But let's just keep focusing on the question on what we can do to serve. So now this next question is in line with that a little, where I want to hear from you and we get ideas from others on how can leaders support and what can we do? So thinking about educators, okay, all educators that's here, How can we better support them? Because most of you are administrators. And then thinking about the parents. I know that you guys are already doing something. You have strategies and some techniques that you are maybe having more meetings with them, more Zoom meetings, one-on-ones. I know they had the ARDs back in the day. So how are you supporting those parents? And then, of course, students. I know we have teachers on here and we have diagnosticians. Like, think specifically, what are some things that you're doing? And then I'd like for you to share them on this very next screen. So as leaders, how can we support? And I didn't put this question, but what are you doing to support? I know that you're already doing major things right now. You've had to get to this point and to still be alive. I love the picture that the keynote had with all of these faces and these memes of how you're feeling right now. And I felt it. I actually wrote some of them down because it's going to help me with my next presentation at 10 o'clock. But one of the things that I wrote down as you're filling that out, I have so many notes. I should have put a star by it. Overwhelm, excess overwhelm. I kept seeing that in testing students, excessive training. So I know that these administrators, you guys are on here trying to provide professional development in a self-paced way. You're trying to offer these opportunities, but that can even be overwhelming, especially for people that's not so tech savvy. I know that's something that I run into, that I support and mentor many adjunct faculty members, which are part-time faculty at our college, and they are just at a loss. They weren't online teachers. they were face to face, and many of them are retired, and they're here doing this as something, that a passion that they have, or just something for extra income. So working with them has really been eye-opening, and I know that's overwhelming. It's a lot on a person. So I'm just interested to see how you're supporting. Being available are the first two things that I see. That's huge. And that's the relational piece that he was talking about, is that collaboration, just having that support there, building a supportive culture. Resources is huge. I see that a couple of times here. That's wonderful. Building relationships. I said that. I didn't even see your note there, but yes. Available goes along with willing to listen. That's sometimes all they want. You're absolutely right. Empathy goes a long way. Our dean used to say that all the time. And that is a part of social emotional learning that we're going to talk about here in just our next slide, actually, is just that emotional piece, or building trust. Yes, huge. Quick responses. I hear that from students all the time. In this time where we're mostly online, I'm working from home, but every 2 weeks I go in. We're rotating our team so that everyone's not there. But having a quick response time now, because you want your answers back, that is huge for educators and for students. Getting that feedback to them early. This is wonderful. Let's see if okay, here we go. I'm gonna go down a little bit more. Be authentic and ready to listen without judgment. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I didn't have you put your names, which is okay, but that's really good. Building relationships, again, is crucial. Listening, compassion. So these aren't really things that you can learn. I took a picture of those top 10 things that industry's looking for from 2015 and 2020. So I really like that slide that the keynote had, because a lot of those things aren't. Oh, and then he had President Trump signing off on to prioritize skills over going to college. So I'm not saying that will put me out of business. So I said, don't go to college, because I'm huge on college. I've been talking to my kids about college since kindergarten. But you want to make sure that these other pieces are in there, because it is about culture, and it's about relationships, and about compassion and understanding these things that you have. I want to read the social worker comment. I strive to build an inclusive community where all students, capitalized, and parents feel a sense of belonging in the school community. Beautiful. Connecting with parents after hours if needed. Think outside the box and just be empathetic. Yes, that is so true. That's where innovation comes in, because I know that it's tiring on, and I know a lot of the staff members, it's not a lot of counselors. It's not like one counselor to 25 students where you really have this like workload where you can just manage it. So what are we doing for staff? Yes, listen to staff, learn to listen, capitalize. Okay, we have a cares team initiative, being transparent, asking what can I do to help. You guys are already doing it. So I'm really here to facilitate and see more conversations of what you're doing. But these are exactly the things that Cassell talks about, things that you do need to do to continue supporting. So this is excellent. Reminding all, even ourselves, that we're in this together. So true. And I'm hoping that administrators have a network as well. I know you have your principals, your assistant principals, diagnosticians, the counselors. So hopefully your team are doing some things to like cope. I talk with my daughters every day about coping because I have an early college student and she stays in my office like all day doing work. So I have to get her out and go walk or ride our bikes because it's really hectic and you have to be able to do something like for yourselves. So Cassell.org, CASEL.org. And I know I've looked at Aldine's website in the past. I've looked at actually quite a few. I don't know why. I just like researching and like finding out how are the schools dealing with this. You know, Fort being A-Leaf, all of these different schools and the schools that's out of state, like what are you doing? So I just kind of went in to see like what's the plan, you know, how are they dealing with this? And I found this website on social and emotional learning. And ever since I found it, like every day I'm using it, even at the community college level, because the definition says SEL is the process through which children and adults understand and manage emotions. So this message is kind of geared more toward leading in the adult piece of it, and how can we help the adults, parents, educators, and students. So children, so everyone SEL can connect with. So understanding and managing emotions is the very first one. I had a few notes that I wanted to make sure that I did not leave out. Um, is the first concept. The second one is setting and achieving positive goals. So when you think about setting and achieving positive goals, that's not just for students. It's like, what are our goals as adults or educators? Like, what are we wanting to impose or infuse into the students? And you guys have already said it, feeling and showing empathy for others. Because at this point in our lives and the situation we're in, to me, that is the major one right now, is that empathy. Um, Putting ourselves in the shoes of others, basically, is what the definition of that is, in my terms. Establish and maintain positive relationships. You've done it on the previous screen. You talked about that support. You talked about building those relationships, building trust. So you're already working in this model, and then making responsible decisions, which you've had to do as well with who's coming back to classes, who's not coming back to classes. How are you making your classroom safe? How are you social distancing? Some schools are Monday, Tuesday. Some are Wednesday, Thursday. Some are Monday, Wednesday. So you're having to make those crucial decisions to make sure that you're keeping everyone at those schools safe. So you're already working in this model, and I wanted to just kind of share it with you. And I know that many of you have already seen this model and talked through this, because it's such a holistic approach. It's these 5 key concepts of self-awareness, self-management, responsible decision making, relationships, and social awareness. So all of the answers that you've given on those previous 2 slides really are encompassed here. Talking about students in the classroom, that ring of how you're incorporating things in your curriculum and instruction is critical. Within the schools, the practices, the policies, and the procedures that you have currently working, which are some of the things that I just saw and read off of what you're doing. You're incorporating that. And then just to wrap everything up, reaching out after hours, someone said, to those families, to those caregivers, to the different community partners, family and community partnership. So that quote, that it takes a village, is what we're working in right now, and it really does. But I keep thinking about that collaboration, or that team spirit of everyone working together and finding the best partnerships, or the ways that you can work together, is just really key at this time. So I want to focus in on just three. So we don't have a lot of time today here. I actually have sessions that I do on all of these, which is like half day, full day sessions. But right now, I just want to kind of touch on these. And I want to know, I want to go over here and just see if you guys have entered any. Uh, yes, I wanted to just look at the chat for a moment and see what information you have in your chat. Give me just a second. Oh, you can't give what you don't have. I love that. It is a great chart. Yes. I'm looking at just a few more comments. I want to, because I'm on one screen, so I can't really see what you guys are typing. So listening and hearing people. Yes, please post any questions, because I can't see your questions right now. So different ways to support and collaborate. Okay, excellent. Okay, very good. All right, I just wanted to go over there to see like what conversations we had going on. So, so the three that I'm going to talk about just a little bit today: self-awareness, self-management, and relationship skills. You guys actually have already hit on many of these, but I want to just go over the basic definition and talk through some of those. So first of all, self-awareness, the abilities to understand one's own emotions, thoughts, and values, and how they influence behavior across contexts. So the one thing that I wanted to say about that is, students, because they're learning and they're still finding their identities, may have a little more struggle with this piece of it. But I know, because I have the administrators on the line, you probably have a better understanding and grasp of your own emotions. So I think of emotional intelligence. How do you manage yourselves, your conversations, when things aren't going well. So I think about those, what thoughts are you having? What values are driving you to continue these supports? So just being aware. So one note that I wanted to make sure that I added was making sure you as a leader have a pulse on your community, your school or your district. I saw some principals on there, your teachers, your classrooms. And I know it's a super busy time, but normally you would go inside the classroom and do observations, or are you going into the teacher's classroom, giving them tips or giving them praise? So this is really reflective. So I have a question for each of you. We don't have time to answer the question, but I want to leave the question with you. So how are we managing emotions, thoughts, and behaviors? How are we coping? So you individually, that's a question to you. How are we managing emotions, thoughts, and behaviors? Okay, to help us achieve our results. We still have results and outcomes that we want. We want these students to learn. We have goals. We have numbers that we want to hit. We want to keep enrollment. We don't want students dropping out. So that's the question to you, just for your own reflection. How are we managing our emotions, thoughts, and behaviors as we're achieving our results? Okay. Next, self-management. So I love this term. A lot of people use priority management, time management, all these different words, but I like self-management because it's the abilities to manage one's own emotions, thoughts, and behaviors. So we can't really control what's happening externally or out there or with our students or with our parents, but we can self-manage in different situations. And you can admit that we're in a different situation, but we still want to achieve our goals and our aspirations. So just thinking about what those aspirations are, what are we doing? How are we managing ourselves in this time. So it really kind of goes with self-awareness. Once you're aware, what are you doing about it? How are you managing or coping with those situations? And then finally, the third one is relational skills. So the abilities to establish and maintain healthy and supportive relationships to effectively navigate settings with diverse individuals. So the question I had now is, because we're social distancing, as I stated, we have some in classes, we have some at home that's still learning. How are we navigating those relationships? So we got to think a little deeper. I saw some of the comments that you had earlier, but thinking about our partnerships, are we still managing those community partnerships? What are we doing with them? What are we doing with our parents? What are we doing with our students? In all these different relationships with individuals and groups, like, how are we doing that? Okay. What are we doing now, and what are we planning to do? Because the way we used to teach, the way we used to be an administrator and support our people has changed. So what I want to see is in the chat, if you can tell me, I know that I want you to reflect on it, but I do want to see some comments here, like, what are you doing now and what can you do more of? Like, what's going to change, or what has changed since we've been in this situation? So I'm going to go over to the chat screen now and see if you guys can add anything like, what are you doing or what have you done? I see some things in here with coping, exercising, behind the scenes, cry. Yes, we've probably, I know I have. So, but yes, behind the scenes, find a hobby. I love that. Maintaining balance. Self-growth is necessary. Yes, that is so true. I see a word, work-life balance. I went to a presentation the other day that says that that's a myth, that there's really not work-life balance, that they just use the word balance. But I know exactly what you mean, because yes, we do want to find, when do we cut off? We had a presentation at my campus the other day that, now that we're working from home, that people don't cut off. They at 5 o'clock, they don't stop working. It's like they're working more now from that they're at home. So how do we find that cut off time? So that was great. Check-ins, I love it. Keeping safe, extending grace. Feel sorry for yourself for a moment. Yes, Ellen, but then we have to come out. Yes. So for a little while, we can give ourselves some grace. You're absolutely right. Um, Great. You're on campus checking with your teachers. That's excellent. Okay. Okay, here we go. At least every other day. That is great. Not about work. Okay. What do you know about your colleagues besides just work? We actually did something like that in my little small team at work. We had to do like this little quiz, like, do you know their children's names or what their hobbies are, what they like to do? So that's really great. Unplug and appreciate the moment you're in. Yes, be present, be here, be now. I love it. Supporting other administrators. I don't know if admins have a support group, but yes, I cannot imagine if I were a principal or assistant principal or any leader in the ISDs right now, that I didn't have someone to reach out to talk to. So yes, surround myself with people that can keep me accountable. The keynote talked about that. Yes, what I need. Self-maintenance is another good word for self-management. I like that. Breathe and stretch. I've started trying to do that. I haven't done yoga yet, but that sounds, how the inhaling and exhaling. I kind of read an article about how that just relieves tension and different things. Unplugging. Yes, I like the unplug idea. So yes, such great ideas. Team building activities. Painted together last week. Oh my gosh, I've always wanted to do painting with a twist. I love that. I've never done it before, but yes, that is something that's supposed to be. So arts, the arts, something therapeutic. I have horses, so I like horseback riding. It's a little cold right now, but I don't know. This weekend, I'm hoping I get a chance to go and play with them. But finding something that is therapeutic or that's relaxing for you. Reading is even relaxing for some people. Journaling, sitting outside, nature walks, cooking, baking. I can't cook, but I love eating. Yes. So something that you can do for yourself, find that place, find that happy place. Virtual happy hour. I like that. That's a really good idea. Team bowling. So, yes, those are just things. If you don't have something right now, please find something. You may have to think way back to when you were younger, like what was your passion or something that makes you smile that you really enjoyed. Family time, I really like it. We like to dance. Zydeco, Zumba, we just turn music on, but something to just help you be able to like manage it and cope. So I just wanted to just throw those out there because I know this is not real theoretical. These are like practical things because that's the way I think that we're going to get through this together is by doing these 5 things, managing ourselves, coping, building relationships, and helping one another. And so finally here, support. How will you continue? So we already kind of talked about it, the check-in with the teachers every other day, going into their online classrooms, having a support group of admins. So those are some of the things you put in the chat. In the final Menti, I would like for you to answer this last question for me. At this time, I want to see if you guys have questions for me. You can actually type them in here, and I will definitely try to answer those. Leave a comment. So if you have any comments about what you've heard today, you can do that. Also, I have a place here for you to leave your contact information. So I'm going to start a quarterly email just with tips and different resources and information. And I'm going to leave my website because I actually do like different presentations. I do like group things, one-on-one things. So I'm going to leave that here in the chat shortly. But if you have any questions or comments, additional thoughts, or if you want to just leave your contact information so that I can reach out and share these different tips and resources with you on a quarterly basis, or if you have other questions or you want me to reach out to you for anything else, I'm here to support and to help in any way that I can. So just please, I'm going to give you an opportunity to leave that information. I'm going to go into chat to see if it's anything else. But your last one should be able to allow you to go in and ask any questions or leave comments or your contact information here. And I'm going to go back over. Oh, you're welcome. I'm going to just look at the chat as you guys are completing that final question slide. Let's see. Great tips. Okay, great. Okay, I see some of you putting your emails in the chat. Okay, wonderful. Okay, that's a good idea because you may not have logged into Mentimeter. So I'm just checking. You're welcome.
Dr.
Manage.
Landry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. So there was something in the chat
Okay.
that our Tara, our YouTube co-host, she found from Melody Wilson.
Okay.
And she was asking for tips to connect with students virtually or in person. And I don't know if you have any tips for us.
Well, I can from my experiences what I can share. In person, I don't know right now with the social distancing. So the schools or your districts may have like policies on how to connect with them in person. Face to face, I have another session coming up at 10 that actually talks about like different things. The same setup that I have for face to face, I try to make it as real for my online students. So I taught face to face and I teach online right now. But whatever you can do to make your online classrooms the same as face to face. And I know you can't touch them, you can't be there. But that check-in, those warm-ups, that one-on-one time, whatever you have that you do in class, try to tweak. And I took a picture of that Bloom's digital taxonomy. Try to tweak your lessons and your lesson plans to be more digitally friendly. So that's what my advice to you is, try to make sure that you're doing those one-on-ones, group sessions. Have a webinar session where those students can just come in and share. It doesn't have to be about your lesson or your content. Try to make sure that you can connect with them and just let them like vent and share like what's going on with them. It's a check-in, as some people said earlier. Home visits to connect. I didn't know some districts can make home visits, but if you can do that, I know it's just one of you, but try to do that if you can, because you want to stay connected with those students. That's a great question. I'm gonna write that.
Thank you, thank you. And before we uh, kind of exit here, I'll go to my co-host Sarah. Sarah, did you see anything else in the chat? Oh, yeah.
No, I sure didn't. But this has been a great presentation. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. Well, Dr. Landry, I'm going to go ahead and post the super secret word for this session, you guys. And here we go. The super secret word for this session is learn. So you guys go ahead and write that down. Oh, it is case sensitive. So you should be getting an email. If you signed up for this presentation on Sched, you should be getting an email, and the certificate is password protected and the password is learn.
I see a question in the chat too.
Okay.
And I posted my website there. I don't know if they can see that, but
yes.
It says, I teach special needs students. What would you recommend to do with students who struggle with communication? That's a great question. The first thing that comes to mind is visuals. Having visuals so that they can try to look at those and maybe figure out, what they are. It makes me think of like counseling when they have these different abstract pictures, but allowing them to just try to use their words with pictures and maybe with music. The next session that I actually have like all these different active learning activities, but when you can use music, because that's the universal language, and you can use artwork or symbols, emoticons, that may help with communication. I'm not a counselor or psychologist or anything, but that when I think of communication, I think language, arts, music evokes communication. So that may be one tip that can help you with incorporating that. Great question. Any other questions? Okay, I'm gonna look at the other screen. Okay, I don't see any questions.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, Dr. Landry, thank you so much for this presentation.
Absolutely.
This was just great information.
Yes.
You guys, we have sessions starting every hour, so make sure you check out the schedule. Also, please, please, please visit our vendor-led sessions. They are the reason why this conference is free, completely free for us. So please visit the vendor sessions, check them out, treat yourself, get a little something, support our vendors, and yeah, well, if that's it, then we'll go ahead and end this broadcast and give you guys some time to get some coffee or a snack before your next session.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Enjoy,
Bye,
you guys.
everyone. Thank you.